Ledger is a new particle feature that allows you to create a digital twin for your devices. Ledger is cloud first, so it can be updated at any time by any service, even if your device is offline. Once the device reconnects to the particle cloud, it will synchronize with the latest Ledger state. In this example, we'll create a device configuration ledger that allows us to adjust the LED blink interval for any number of devices deployed within a product. First, we're going to set up our device using the Particle Setup tool. Since we're working with a boron, we'll choose a device with a USB port. Make sure your device is plugged in before continuing. Follow the steps to make sure your boron is up to date with the latest device OS. The device updater may take a few minutes to complete. Once finished, assign your device to an organization and a product. In this case, I'm selecting the Sandbox org and a test product I created previously. Step through the remaining prompts to finish up the setup process. Once our device is properly configured, head over to VS Code. Make sure you have the Particle Workbench extension installed. Open the Workbench extension and create a new project. Then make sure to configure your project for the proper device. In this case, I'll choose the latest device OS version and select Boron. Open the main C++ file and delete everything to start with a clean slate. Now we can begin by setting up the connection modes and initializing a logger. In our setup function, we want to define a ledger instance and provide a callback function for when the ledger syncs with the device. We should also configure the built-in user LED as an output. Next, we can fill in the callback function that handles the ledger syncing. Start by logging a note so we know when the sync occurs. Then we can get the ledger configuration and check to see if the blink interval property exists on it. If it does exist, we'll assign it to a global variable that we'll define in a second. Finally, add one more log statement to make things easier to track. Up top, define a few global variables that will be used to track the system's state. This includes the blink interval that can be updated by the ledger. In our main loop, we'll just check to see if it's time to toggle the LED and then reset the state if so. Now we're ready to program our device. Use Command-Shift-P to access VS Code's command window and look for Flash Device. It might take a bit to build the very first time. Next, open the serial monitor to make sure everything is working as expected. You should see the LED blinking at the default interval as we don't have our ledger configured just yet. Once we're happy with the firmware, head back to the Particle console to implement our LED cloud to device ledger. From the All Products page, look for the ledger icon on the side panel and create a new cloud to device ledger instance. Make sure to name it exactly what you defined in your device's firmware and give it a product level scope. In the Instances tab, create a new instance and select the product that you're working with. Then, fill out the blink interval with something different than the default value that you defined in your firmware. Once saved, you should see your LED start to blink at a different interval. You can see how powerful this could be for entire fleets of devices. You can avoid setting configuration parameters one by one and leverage Ledger for a global device state.